Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Lucas and Amanda had always been seen as a model couple. 5 years of marriage, a calm and steady life, financial security, and that effortless complicity friends often admired. During weekend conversations, their bills were paid on time. Work was running smoothly, and though they didn't have children, they had built a shared routine filled with quiet dinners, movie nights, and short weekend trips. Yet beneath the calm, Amanda felt a stirring, a craving for something more. Something that could disrupt the monotony and awaken a thrill she had kept tucked away for years. During a casual discussion about their upcoming vacation, she suggested a destination that broke entirely from the predictable. Lucas, as always, immediately embraced the idea. He too sensed the need for a new experience, an adventure that would linger in their memories for years to come. After some research, they settled on Jamaica Paradise in the heart of the Caribbean. With crystalline waters and landscapes so stunning they looked like they had been lifted from a postcard. Without hesitation, they booked the most luxurious resort on the island, a place renowned for its elegance and exclusivity. Amanda's excitement was palpable. She imagined herself lost in breathtaking scenery. Nights filled with the rhythmic sound of the waves, and days that felt like living in a dream. Lucas's focus was simpler. He wanted to see his wife happy, believing this trip might deepen their connection and reignite the spark of adventure in their lives. Upon arrival, they were welcomed like honored guests. Their room offered every conceivable comfort, with a view of the sea that left them speechless. Everything seemed perfect. On the second morning, while enjoying breakfast at the resort's restaurant, they were introduced to Caleb, a local guide recommended by the reception. Young, with an easy smile, piercing eyes, and an undeniable charisma, he immediately drew attention. Caleb spoke with warmth and confidence, explaining that he knew the island like the back of his hand and would love to show them hidden spots, away from the usual tourist paths. Amanda was charmed, captivated by his natural friendliness and the passion he showed for his home. Lucas noticed, but chose to focus on the trip itself, brushing aside the subtle allure that Caleb seemed to radiate. After all, he was here to relax, and Caleb appeared to be nothing more than a courteous, knowledgeable professional, proud of his culture. Their first tours with Caleb were mesmerizing. He shared ancient local legends, guided them along secret trails, and led them through hidden paths lined with rocks and streams. Amanda listened intently, asking questions, admiring the detail and enthusiasm in Caleb's storytelling. Lucas observed quietly, content to absorb the scenery and the soothing silence of nature around them. With each new discovery, Amanda seemed lighter, her energy renewed. On one excursion, Caleb took them by boat to a secluded beach accessible only from the sea. The water was impossibly clear, and the sand was soft and fine as powdered sugar. Amanda's amazement was palpable. She had never seen anything so breathtaking. Caleb explained gently that this spot was one he considered sacred, a place where people could truly free themselves from everything that weighed them down. It was in that moment that Amanda acted in a way nobody expected. Without a word, she began to shed her clothes, piece by piece, until she was completely naked. Lucas froze, stunned, trying to comprehend what was happening. Amanda, serene and unhesitant, stepped toward the water, gliding into the calm waves, as if her gesture were the most natural thing in the world. Caleb, equally surprised, quickly averted his gaze. Without showing discomfort, he quietly moved away, returning to the boat that had brought them there, respecting the couple's space. Lucas remained on the beach, watching Amanda with a mix of confusion and indignation. When she returned, they argued. He questioned her behavior, saying that it was disrespectful, not only to him, but also to the guide, who had always been respectful and professional. Amanda, in a calm tone, explained that she was tired of being tied to rules. Thatch wanted to feel True freedom, Fathis, was an act of connection with nature, of personal liberation. Lucas, still impacted by the scene, realized that for the first time he was facing a side of Amanda he had never known, a side that until then she had hidden even from herself. The Torah ended densely, with a heavy atmosphere between them, but without further words. That trip, which had started as a dream, carried an invisible weight that Buth seemed to avoid, even without knowing what was to come. The silence between Lucas and Amanda seemed to have settled definitively after the episode on the beach. They continued the trip, trying to maintain an appearance of normalcy, as if tension wasn't there, as if that man hadn't exposed something that had been hidden in their marriage until then. In the following days, they kept participating in the resort's activities, laughing during meals, taking some pictures, and even exchanging sweet words. But everything standard rehearsed. Lucas, despite still feeling bothered, preferred to believe that this would remain in the past. He didn't want Todwell on the weight of that memory, let alone turn the trip into a battleground. Amanda, on the other hand, displayed a lightness that he couldn't explain. She was different, more spontaneous, freer, as if she had discovered a part of herself she had never known before the trip. During a walk through the rocks off a hidden beach, the unexpected happened. Lucas, while trying to climb a wet rock, slipped and sprained his ankles so badly he could barely put his foot on the ground. The pain was strong, throbbing, and he needed help to return to the hotel. Amanda tried to look concerned, helped as much as she could, but her expression maintained that trace of impatience, as if the situation were an unwanted obstacle amid the adventure. Just seemed to want to experience alone, but caught the room with his swollen, undimmobilized ankle. Lucas rested. He tried to distract his mind with a book had brought, but the physical discomfort mixed with the emotional unease, while he stayed there among pillows and medications. Amanda announced that she was going to the city, saying she wanted to buy souvenirs for the family, some gifts for them, and that she might take the opportunity to visit some craft shops that had been recommended by Caleb. She explained that might take a while since the city was far and there were many stores to visit. Lucas, unable to argue or accompany her, simply agreed. He watched as she left, carrying a large bag and wearing a light dress, looking ready to spend a whole day of discoveries. Time seemed to move slowly in that room. Hours passed, and Lucas, lying down, sank into confused thoughts. He tried not to get lost in recent memories off trip, but the image of Amanda on the beach, undressed, repeated endlessly in his mind. He struggled to believe that it had truly been an innocent act, as had said. He tried to convince himself that the moment didn't carry any hidden intentions. The day was long. Amanda only returned in the late afternoon with bags full of presents. She wore a calm expression, smiling as if she had spent the most pleasant hours of the trip. Meant she began to show everything she had bought. She set aside a shirt for Lucas, small mementos for their parents, and toys for their nephews. Each item was described with enthusiasm, as if it had been chosen with absolute care. Lucas watched silently, trying to follow the light mood she brought with her, even with his painful ankle. Chase seemed excited, recounting details of booth shops, the vendors, the streets full of tourists. She talked about the scents, the colors of traditional clothing, and how welcoming the merchants were. Lucas, for a moment, wanted to believe in the image was describing, as if that weary now to drive away any doubts clouding his mind. After all, she was there bringing souvenirs for everyone, smiling, trying to turn that day into something ordinary. Even with all the presents spread across bed, Lucas felt that something had changed. There was an invisible distance between them, something that not even the purchased souvenirs could fill. Amanda seemed completely at peace, as if she had completed a perfectly executed plan. Lucas, with his immobilized, ankling tired body, chose to stay silent. He knew that some answers, sooner or lateral ways, find a way to appear. The last day arrived as if it were just another momentum. Amanda woke up early, radiating excitement, while Lucas, with his ankle still sore, simply observed insolence. She carefully packed the suitcases, folding each piece of clothing, fitting souvenirs she had bought with so much enthusiasm the day before. Everything about her exuded lightness, as if she were closing a chapter perfectly. Lucas avoided talking much. He watched from afar, agreeing with gestures and short words. Inside, there was a discomfort he couldn't quite name. When they reached the hotel lobby, transportation to the airport was already arranged. Amanda checked the tickets and documents, always, with that practical manner she maintained during trips. Lucas sat observing the movement around him until Caleb appeared. The guy designedly showed up, his face tense, as if carrying a huge weight on his shoulders. He no longer had this uneasy smile from the previous days. His eyes were dull, and his expression revealed something he seemed unable to hide. Caleb approached Lucas with a direct look. He asked in a low and serious voice that they talk alone. Amanda, distracted with the luggage, didn't notice the exact moment when they stepped away. The conversation was quick but intense. Caleb spoke with restrained words, like Simone, who had been fighting against these conscience for days. He seemed a dater man, even though his face was filled with guilt. Lucas, for his part, listened in silence, without interrupting, without asking questions, just letting every word be spoken until the end. At the conclusion, Caleb left with a relieved face, as if he had lifted an immense burden off his chest. Lucas returned to the lobby with a closed expression, different from anything Amanda was used to seeing. There wasn't a trace of anger. What existed there was such a great void that Tevin, she couldn't disguise her discomfort upon noticing it. They proceeded to the car that would take them to the airport. During the ride, almost no words were exchanged. Amanda tried to start a conversation a few times, but Lucas kept his gaze fixed on the road, not giving space for any discussion. At the airport, while waiting for the flight, Amanda seemed impatient with the silence. She fiddled with her phone, rearranged the bags, looked around. Lucas, however, remained motionless with a distant gaze until he decided to speak. His voice came out firm without haste, carrying something Amanda couldn't immediately decipher. He mentioned the meeting with Caleb at the hotel, saying they had talked. Amanda, surprised, wanted to know what that conversation was about, but Lucas didn't respond right. Away, he simply stared at her with a cold look that made her body freeze. He explained that Caleb told him 2 days earlier. Amanda had approached him in the late afternoon, saying she wanted to return to the same deserted beach where they had been a year before. Caleb said that at first he believed it would just been a third tours, as she had requested. He said that when they arrived at the beach, she seemed different. She was more direct, with a gleam in her eye. Hey, had never seen before, without delay. She took off her clothes again, just as she had done before. But this time her gaze carried an open invitation. Caleb said he tried to maintain his composure, that he tried to refuse, but Amanda kept getting closer with sweet words and gestures that left no doubt about what she wanted. He confessed Thoth tried to resist, but she left no room for retreat. He said that Amanda kissed him without hesitation, with such intense a desire that he couldn't react in time. By the time he realized it, the two were already involved, surrendering to that forbidden moment without thinking about consequences. He recounted that everything happened right there on the sand without witnesses. Far from any prying eyes, Caleb, visibly regretful, said he couldn't resist the way Amanda provoked him, and that it had consumed him ever since. He said that after everything happened, she simply got dressed and asked him to take her back, as if it were something ordinary, as if it carried no weight or meaning. Sad that, since that moment, he had begun to feel disgusted with himself, and that no matter how hard he tried to forget, the guilt prevented him from sleeping. Caleb ended his confession by saying that even though he knew it was too late, He needed to be honest with Lucas because keeping it inside was destroying him. He apologized, saying he knew his words would cause pain, but that he preferred to face the truth rather than continue echoing that secret. Amanda stood before him, her face pale and her eyes empty, while Lucas let each word come out slowly as if he wanted every syllable to deeply mark that moment. He repeated without changing his tone that Caleb had told him everything without a meeting, a single detail. He said he knew about the second meeting on that beach, about the way Amanda seduced him without hesitation, about how everything happened there, as if their marriage meant nothing. He spoke coldly, like Simeon, who had already stopped feeling warmth of emotions, like someone who had crossed the point where anger or pain still existed. Only a dry void remained, which nothing could fill anymore. Amanda tried to hold back her tears, but the attempt was ceaseless. Her face trembled, and her hands were unsteady, revealing that she was at her limit. Even so, she remained silent, unable to muster the courage to deny or make excuses. Lucas continued, saying that Caleb had regretted it, that the guide had confessed everything with shame, but that deep down that regret didn't change. Fact that she had chosen to take the first step. He said he knew that if Caleb hadn't told him, she would have returned home and pretended nothing had happened, that she would have kept that secret, like a dirty jewel hidden at the bottom of a drawer. He made it clear that, from that moment on, Marija's dead, that she could try to say anything, cry, or beg, but that he no longer cared. What mattered was this certainty that she had chosen to betray it only the commitment, but everything they had built together. Amanda tried to say something, but her voice came out, weak, trembling, like a powerless plea. Lucas turned his gaze away as if every word she said was irrelevant. The boarding line formed and they entered the plane without exchanging her word. Throughout the entire flight, silence between them was so thick it seemed impossible to penetrate. Amanda looked out the window, her face marked by shame and regret, while Lucas kept his gaze fixed, his mind already far away, as if his body was present, but his soul had departed long ago. As soon as they arrived home, Lucas went straight to the bedroom. He grabbed Asmal's suitcase, quickly packed some cloths, and left. Amanda ran after him, begging him to stay, saying they need dead to talk, that she was confused, that she had made a mistake, but that they could overcome it. She tried to grab his arm, but Lucas pulled away firmly without aggression, just determined not to allow any more contact. He said in a dry tone thought he had already heard everything he needed to hear. He said there was no more conversation, that, for him, that marriage had ended on the same beach where she chose to destroy it. He walked out the door. Anna stood frozen at the entrance, not knowing what to do, her heart racing and tears streaming down her face. The following days were a torment for her. She sent long messages, left voicemails, pleaded for meetings, said she was willing to do anything to reverse the situation. Lucas didn't respond. Not because he wanted to punish her, but because he had already closed that chapter within himself. The divorce process was quick. No resistance, no fights. He accepted everything she offered, asking for nothing beyond the definitive separation. Everything was divided clearly and definitively. The house, the car, the furniture. Every detail that once represented the dreams they had built together was split fairly. But without attachment, she still tried to involve mutual friends, asking them to talk to him, trying to convince him to at least listen to what she had to say. But nothing worked. Lucas didn't respond, didn't open doors, didn't yield to attempts at reconciliation. There was no more room for her in Thepeth he had chosen. It already decided that that story, no matter how long it had lasted, had ended exactly where it deserved, in the past. What no one expected was the outcome that came months later. When many believed he was still suffering in silence, Lucas moved to another city, far from everything and Averian. There he started his life anew in complete anonymity. dedicating him's fee to work and rebuilding every detail of his daily routine. But now with a different perspective on people-lined relationships. A mutual friend said that he had gotten involved with a new woman, Samoyan Simple, who had gone through a similar betrayal in the past. They said that Lucas had finally found peace. Not because he forgot what he had lived through, but because he understood that certain wounds, no matter how deep, shouldn't be healed by trying to revive what has already died. Meanwhile, Amanda remained stuck in the past. She continued living in the same house, surrounded by the same furniture, thus memories, facing day after day their reflection of her choices. She never managed to rebuild a serious relationship. People would approach her, but soon drifted away upon. Noticing the emptiness she carried in her eyes, neighbors whispered that she had aged quickly, like someone carrying a weight her body couldn't bear. That trip to Jamaica, which started as the promise of a new chapter, became the bitterest memory of her life. And Lucas, even with scars, kept in his chest. Understood that sometimes the greatest victory isn't forgiveness or reconciliation, but courage to close the door and move forward without carrying the burden that belongs to others. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.